Only. It's a word that annoys me a lot. I find it irritating. And I always have. Ever since I can remember. My thoughts on lonely, you've got to be kidding me. Really? Lonely? Why would you use that word? Well, I gave that considerable thought. And I still didn't get it. I mean, after all, most of us, we start this world alone, right? You get your own swimming pool, you're all alone, it's very comfortable. People are close by, but they really aren't in your way, at least not for 7 or 8 months. And then you have that need to escape. So lonely is something we all started with, and unless you had a friend in your swimming pool and happened to be part of a multiple birth, which I wasn't. So, why does lonely bother me so much? Well, I don't think it did for the first couple of years. Those were rather normal years. And then at family gatherings, it started to be really evident. There was something wrong with me, really wrong with me. And I would hear in the background, oh, Cherie, is she gonna be okay? It looks like she's gonna be an only. She will be so lonely. There it goes. There were many in my family. My grandfather was one of 12. My grandmother was one of 8. So many great aunts and uncles. And they would come by regularly to check on my progress, to see if I was developing okay. Was I gonna be normal? Would I fit in? Because after all, it looks like she's gonna be an only, and she'll be so lonely. Really? That's probably where the irritation started. And then I went to preschool. And I found out that most everybody else, well, they had siblings. And they'd look at me and they'd go, the differentness fit in. It sat in. It sank in. Like an illness. Like some kind of disability. She's an only. She must be lonely. Fast forward, family's still checking in, all those great aunts and uncles, on my progress. Well, I found it delightful because I had all these adults to entertain me. I got really good at checkers. I had private writing lessons, from Uncle Jim, and then there was Aunt Edith, and they all checked in. I got lots of attention. I noticed that people with siblings, they really didn't get that. But I kept it a secret. Just like the friends in my head. Oops, I said I wasn't going to talk about those. We can't talk about those. So I go off to school, and I'm getting that quality education that many onlys get because it's affordable. It's something you can't do when you have many in the family. And it was probably about 2nd grade. And it was Sister Elizabeth. And she heard the other kids saying something about, Cherie, she doesn't have to share anything. And they were right, I didn't. I had my own bed, I had my own playmates. In fact, I could invite anybody over that I wanted to play. They came at invitation, they left at request. So I really didn't have to resolve any conflicts either. But Sister Elizabeth, she knew it was really bugging me. And she said, Cherie, you're not alone. You're in good company. And I listened. The black habit, the white collar, the big black dress. But underneath that was a wise, wise woman, the one we call teacher. And she said, did you know that Michelangelo was an only? Well, I didn't. Did you? And then, later on, after after lunch. It was always story time. And that year we read a lot of stories by Hans Christian Andersen. And she called me aside and she said, "Did you know he was an only?" And I thought, cool. And he wasn't lonely. How could anybody that was lonely dream up all the wonderful characters in his books? Oh, now I had a banner to wear. Onlys have special powers. Did you know that? And secrets. The secrets are the people that keep us company in our heads. We have plenty of time to develop those. Lots of space. And I still take space because being around all of you, it's exhausting. I'm used to being alone. I dig it. So about once a month, I go offline, off-grid, get away, just with the companions in my head. The companions in my head. Where did they come from? Did I conjure them? Did they drop in from another planet? I heard of aliens earlier. Did I make them up? Or did I draw on the same resources that Michelangelo used for his art, that Hans Christian Andersen used to develop the characters in his books? I don't know. I heard somewhere in the last few years that some people can actually conjure and manifest people inside their head. I'm really not that gifted. But I think the first companion, oh, that's right. I finally looked up only in the dictionary, and all it says is without companions. Really? Are we any ever without companions? I don't think so. But the first companion in my head probably started in preschool. I went to a Jewish preschool, and the rabbi used to come out to recess every morning, or sometimes in the afternoon. Sometimes he'd show up on Monday, sometimes on Wednesday, sometimes at the beginning of recess, sometimes at the end of recess. You really never knew where, and he never said anything to anybody. He just stood in the corner of the playground. But the look on his face, he just glowed. And as we swang or ran on the playground or did whatever, the look conveyed, at least to me, I don't know about anybody else, because it's all about me, right? It conveyed that I was okay, that I was loved, that I had value, just with the look, just with checking in. You know, we weren't singing or writing or drawing or doing anything special. We were just being kids. And that rabbi, he still stays in my head. One of the other characters in my head showed up early in my youth, probably, developed much later on, the grandmother. Sometimes in buckskin, sometimes in a calico dress. And I wondered where she came from. And I think she showed up when my grandmother took me to the Apache dances. Wise. All the questions I ever had as a young woman, as an older woman, they were answered by the grandmother. And she'd show up in the kitchen. She'd show up in the middle of conflicts. She was wisdom personified. And I love her. And the last one, and there are people here that know her very well. My best friend, Skippy. Skippy is pure joy. She knows how to have fun. And I don the hats like everyone else. You know, the one that says, I'm a good friend or a good mother, a good coworker. But Skippy doesn't have labels. Skippy just goes for delight. And I love it. And when Skippy shows up, fun is to be had. Now, where did Skippy come from? Maybe that was a blending somewhere between Michelangelo and Hans Christian Andersen. I don't know. And there are others. And you might be thinking at this point, this woman really creeps me out. I think there must be a label for her in the DSM-4. I'm sure of it. Perhaps there's something she can swallow so she'll become unified, one person. Nope, I've been doing this entertaining act for very long. It's something about the lonely-only thing. When you spend enough time alone, you really get to know yourself. And it's not a lonely place. We're like gems that sparkle. It's so much fun. And somewhere in there, I bet one of you is going, yeah. There's somebody inside that's with me all the time. Is it love? Is it wisdom? Is it joy? They're a constant companion. Do they come when summoned? Not always. Wouldn't want to summon them. Those companions that we all want, we have real people for that. They're a phone call away. They're a text away. You know, some of them show up on Twitter. But the companions, the soulmates, they show up when they're needed. And how does that make me feel? It makes me feel pretty good. I still get irritated when I hear the word lonely. Because I think, really? Lonely? I mean, I get that. When you're in a room full of people that want to talk about Jell-O recipes and you'd really rather talk about can'ts, perhaps. But the other stuff, never alone. None of us need to be. And for me, the delightful part is knowing I have a whole community in my head, but not a straitjacket in my future.